Welcome to Mystics Outlook. You got Raymond Lyons, Cardell Dudley Jr. I'm Wilson Tarpet Jr. The Mystics, they complete the regular season series sweep over the Aces. Uh, Best team in the league per the standings with an 83-73 win tonight. That's back-to-back wins for them after beating the Storm on Sunday. Rays at the ESA. So, Ray, just want to get your take on tonight's game.
Yeah, man, it was a tough one. They gutted out. The first quarter they started out slow, shooting 33% from the field. Things weren't flowing offensively, and it was a little uncharacteristic of them to be. They were dedicating a lot of energy towards the refs. We typically don't see that from this team, but they turned it around. They won every other quarter for the remainder of the game and route to the victory. And the thing that stood out to me tonight was their defensive versatility. They're able to switch pretty much everything. And the Aces are a pretty hard team to guard. They got size, athleticism. At all spots. From point guard all the way up to the center position. So the Mystics with they able to match that. It just made things pretty difficult for Las Vegas. Their offense picked up in the second quarter. You know, Ironically, it was their defense that kind of fueled that. Their offense getting back on track. They're getting stops and pushing the ball off rebounds and turnovers, getting some easy ones, and then things started to settle down and flow a little bit better in the half court. Elena, she wasn't herself tonight. She had 1 point at halftime, and they trailed by two. Which is a good sign for them because we've been talking about it the whole season how much of a different team they look like without her on the floor, with her not giving her usual production. But they're starting to figure out who they are, regardless of who's on the floor, man. And everything with them is starting on defense. Some other things that stood out, man. I like Tasha's aggressiveness. Even early on when the shots weren't falling, and we talked about her having to be a more consistent scoring threat. With her just being willing to get shots up. Kept the defense honest. Then in the second half, the shots started falling. The rim kind of opened up for her. So yeah, man, that's just the next level of maturation for her game. Just kind of picking her spots, realizing when she needs to be more aggressive scoring the ball. And not just falling back on her natural tendencies to set her teammates up. Ariel Atkins, man, her defensive intensity. She went from dealing with Chelsea Gray at times to shadowing Kelsey Plum. Then in the fourth quarter, she had two huge defensive plays. Stuck her nose in there and drew a charge on De'Erica Hamby, and Andrew offensive foul on Jackie Young under 2 minutes left, which was kind of stopped the Aces in their tracks when they were trying to get back into things. But yeah, man, as a whole, the Mystics was just super aggressive on both ends of the floor, and it paid dividends. We know them as a pretty finesse team for the most part. Their execution is typically top notch. Tonight, a lot of times the Mystics players just put their head down and got to the rim, and good things happen because of that. Sometimes that's just what you have to do, to get the edge in games, and they did that tonight, and it paid off with the victory. It's good to see them kind of rounding into shape heading into the playoffs. Like Wilson said, the Aces are one of the best teams in the league. And the Mystics took it to them. They swept them in this season, so that just shows you what caliber team they really are. And this is it's a huge win for them.
Cardell.
Yeah, I just think they're not their depth and the bench production. It won this game tonight. I think the Mystics bench scored 25, and the Aces scored 5. They're the reserves, and the Mystics won by 10. Uh, that's the reason why the Aces struggle. It's just weird at the top of the standings. Certain teams that in that mix, I was just talking to Wilson about it. They have one of those teams that just gives them issues. Like the Mystics give the Aces issues, but the Aces give like Chicago issues, but the Storm, but Chicago gives the Storm issues, give the Mystics issues. It's like whoever's executing their thing that night is going to get the win. That's why it's hard to say who's going to be the clear cut, favorite to win the championship. I guess Chicago had the edge because they're defending. You know what I'm saying? So It is what it is. But they match up well with the Aces. You got Chelsea Gray, you got Cloud, you got Plum, you got Atkins, you got Young, you got Alicia Clark, uh, Wilson, you got Deladon, then you got Shakira dealing with Hamby, and Hamby didn't score. Then you go to the bench, it gets kind of iffy. You got to play on Stokes and Williams, but the Mystics, they coming with Hines Allen, who had a great game. Elizabeth Williams, who's a starter coming off the bench. Shatori Walker Kimbrough, starter. She can go back and forth. And obviously Machida, she right there, man. They didn't even have to go deep into Tiana ain't even getting the game. You know what I'm saying? So when they go to the bench, that's the edge they have over the Aces if the starters come. The fact that they beat them by 10 with Deladon being 1 for 7, it says a lot, man. And it shows that, like I said before, they figured out what their identity is with this team. They left 2019 alone. And they understand now, like, all right, somebody else is gonna have to step up in ways and carry the offense when Deladon doesn't have it. You feel what I'm saying? And you're seeing that. And I'm really starting to see the emergence of Atkins. I always felt like she can make a run for being the best 2 guard in the league. And these last 2 games, she's showing it. Because it's not always about scoring 30, man. Like, she had 13, but she was efficient 13 for her defense. What she did, Jewel Lloyd the other night, what she did today with Plum, 5 for 16. Those are all-stars, man. And she's taking them out the game defensively, but being efficient on the other end. I don't know any other 2 guard that's doing that at this time right now. So with the way she playing, the combination, and the Cloud, the mixture, and then Alicia Clark, man, we all were great. Like, we all were happy when they traded her, because it's like when she get healthy, that's 3 all-world defenders you got to deal with nightly. That's gonna be rough as the season go along and in the playoffs, dog. Because that shows the Mystics can win in various ways if they play their game and don't beat themselves. And that's the thing. The last couple games they haven't beat themselves. They've stayed strong and they handle business, man. But it just came down to the bench, honestly, because the starters in a lot of ways they canceled each other out. Like Hamby ain't scored, but Deladon wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So they canceled each other out. But the bench dominated. That's 25-5. It ain't even nothing to talk about. Let's take this W and keep it pushing. Get ready for Friday.
Yeah, like you guys said, and we've been seeing the Mystics bench little by little. We've seen it like starting to kind of round into form as a group. At first we've seen kind of singular performances, right, where you see Maisha have a good night, or we saw for a little stretch Shatori got going. Even in the past, like over the past 3 to 4 games, I feel like Rui's been more aggressive offensively, looking for a shot. Even just looking for it changes the way, because before people just like player to pass. And, they got one less person. I think it was near the end of, I want to say the third quarter, Ray. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Really burnt by somebody and got to the cup and scored real quick. And those 2 points were important because it looked like a help defender was going to step up. They were waiting for a pass. That's 2 points to end the quarter. It doesn't look like much in the grand scheme of things. Like Cardell said, 25-5 is huge. And the other thing I thought they did tonight was, even though Elena didn't have a big night scoring, the 11 rebounds, and you kept Hamby off the glass, 4 boards. We all know what she's here to do. But now, like you guys said, it's gonna be interesting once we get to the playoffs, because it's gonna be so heavily matchup based, where you almost gotta throw the number in front of the teams away, because some of these teams just have these bad matchups for other teams. Where like someone could be a 1, someone could be a 5, but if 5 has had your number all year, that 1 doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? Depending on where it goes. But gotta ask you guys as always, play the game. Ray, we'll start with you and then go to Cardell.
I'm gonna go with Ariel Atkins, man. What she was able to do on both ends of the floor was huge. And as always, man, when they're at times when their offense was kind of sputtering along, she was there to answer the call. And then on defense, it goes without saying what she had to deal with. Chelsea Gray, she had a good game, but it was a lot of those shots, Ariel was in her shirt, and then even having to switch on to Kelsey Plum, just having to deal with those 2 all night and still do what she did offensively. It was a huge part of why the Mystics got the victory.
Yeah, I'm with Ray. He's still tuning in, even though we have other business to handle. But yeah, man, yeah, y'all know me, man. Y'all know how I love both ends effectiveness, man. I can't stand when it's just one end on the offensive end. and it's Matador defense, and you go ahead and do what you do, dog. I'll come back. She's a throwback, and that's why I always loved her from day one. And she's starting to really find who she is and really understand, like, yo, I not like I could just be good, but I could be dominant. And she's starting to realize that now, and that's only going to make the Mystics better as they go in the playoffs. Uh, she's improved her 3-point shooting, so now you really just gotta hope she's off. And the defense is always going to be there because as long as she's not picking up, over aggressive fouls, that's the only thing that get her in trouble sometimes. But I'd rather have that issue than her being passive and stuff and just letting people come in the building or whatever and just torture. So yeah, it's definitely her, man. She's been on one hell of a run these past 2 games.
Yeah, make that all 3 of us right there. And what I've liked is her efficiency the past couple games. Just to added uptick. But, bro, those 3, what they have to deal with, again, Kelly McBride did not lie with that statement. It's not fun dealing with those 3. And then to think about, she has she has a little bit more on her plate offensively in terms of weight to carry, putting the ball in the basket than the other 2 do on the perimeter currently. And it's huge. I think we talked about Julie Lewis the other day, how Seattle, when they need a bucket, you know where they're going. And it's not quite to that point right now in Washington, but we're getting there. We're seeing late in games when, especially tonight, Elena does not have it. We've seen Ariel step up time after time, and this has been something that's been kind of slow cooking since she's been here. And Cardell's been on top of this since draft day. But it's fun watching her ascend and continue to get to where. Look, man. So what you were saying, arguably the best 2 in the league, and right now it's just about getting to the place where we take the first word, out of the statement. X factor for you guys tonight.
Ray, go ahead because I know you got to roll.
I gotta go with the Mystics reserves, man. Cardell touched on it earlier. That was pretty much the difference in the game. Vegas didn't have much off the bench, man. They only played three bench players, and 2. They only had 5 points between them, and then with the Mystics, especially, with Elaine not kind of being herself tonight. Tebow kind of shuffled the lineups a lot. Having capable people come off the bench that are that are able to kind of fill in that gap, it's huge, man. And that's I think that lent a lot to what they were able to do because man, if they didn't have the productivity they had tonight, this is a much tighter game. Like, it was a 10-point victory, and in the bench, they really made up for that difference. So yeah, I go with the reserves.
I'm Cardell.
I'm gonna stick with the reserve, but I'm gonna focus more on Maisha Hines-Allen. That third quarter, she was kind of the spark. She went to work on the aces. She hit a couple threes, turnarounds, getting the boards, facilitating, and she sparked them in that third quarter when they also went 26-18, and they got the lead. And then it was just a matter of Mystics just holding on and tightening up the defense, and they could pull away, and that's exactly what they did. But she was a big spark, man. Look, look, Hamby, she normally scores. Being Donna in the game, that's unusual for her. But dog, she had to deal with Delanon, and then she had to deal with Maisha. They're 2 different type of players, and Maisha was on her game. You know what I'm saying? Like, when Maisha ain't making mistakes and she on the game, she's a bull, man. She's a load. You know what I'm saying? Where then you switch it up and Deladon out there finesse you, trying to shoot threes, and it's like it can mess you up, dog. It can mess you up if you ain't and prepared, and that's a big reason why they swept them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been consistent, man. So I don't know, without her spark in that third quarter, it'd have been tough. It'd have been a tougher closeout, man, because they needed something. They needed something to get going. And she came in and got right to it. So she gets my vote for X Factor.
Yeah, I went with Ray. I just went with the reserves. 25-5 and a 10-point win. it's huge. Especially when, like, your lead horse has probably one of her worst games of the season offensively.
For real.
look, like it's of that levels. Because she just, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just something got to be wrong for this to happen ordinarily. So again, 25-5 is huge when typically you could pencil her in on a bad day for 15. And that just wasn't there. But we talked, the past couple of days after games, how important was this stretch coming up. So far, you're 2-1 through the first 3 games of this ugly stretch. Job's not done. You still got a couple more games. The next one's in Chicago is huge. Like Cardell was talking about, these very matchups, Chicago's a reigning champ. Someone's going to have to go through them, and the Washington doesn't know if it's going to be them. You got to find a way to have some success against them. And they've been in games. It's about finishing those games.
Oh, man. Yeah, they won 2 of them.
Yep.
So they go a long way to tie the season series, but beat them. And you gotta consider where they at in the season. Beat them going into the playoffs. That's different. People may not understand that it's a mental advantage where you just like, all right, we can get them. Like we playing good. We done beat Seattle. We done beat the Aces. We done beat the Sky. 3 straight games. Can't nobody hold us. We just gotta continue to do what we do. That's confidence going into the end of the season. And then you just can't get the games back against the Sparks and the Fever. Stay healthy. Then let's go on this playoff run though, because where they at right now in the standings? I think they jumped up. So they jumped the Seattle Storm because they 20-12, Seattle 19-12. Even though Seattle got the tiebreaker, so they're 4th right now. You know what I mean? And with the top 8 make the playoffs, right? So right now they'd be playing Seattle still, but they were 1.5 behind Connecticut. So you know what I mean? 1.5 behind Connecticut, 2.5 behind the Aces, who they just beat. So keep winning, and you could possibly move up. You're not far behind. You 4 games behind the Sky, and that could change on Friday. So keep winning. Close this thing out strong, though. Next thing you know, you might be up there in the standings 1 or 2, and then people got to come to DC, and we all know how that crowd get when the W's come. So that's like a 6-man. So keep winning. That should be their goal. But definitely Chicago, they should be like, yeah, we got to get them. We owe them one. Yeah.
And to your point, talking about wins late in the season, think about what this one did between them and the Aces tonight. Like, the Aces been riding high. You got blanked for the season. But, again, we'll see what happens. I think they play on Friday. Is it Friday in Chicago? So we'll see you guys Friday night for Mystics Outlook. Obviously, to be on the road. So we look forward to chatting with you guys then. Y'all have a great evening. Thanks for tuning in.